So right now I want to talk about Stephen Colbert, and I also want to remind you that single tickets are now available in Orlando and Tampa, and the rest of our schedule, we are making single tickets available, general admission and VIP. So before they were charging you by the table, now you can just get a single ticket because the Jimmy Dore Show sells lots of single tickets. So go to jimmydorcomedy.com and come out and see us in Orlando, come out and see us in Tampa, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Columbus. We're going everywhere. So Stephen Colbert, this is what Glenn Greenwald says. Stephen Colbert made his name at the 2006 White House Correspondents Dinner, mocking journalists for being too deferential to the president. Now, 16 years and $150 million later, he demands journalists be more deferential to the president, says they should be slapped when confrontational. So, again, this is all heartbreaking. I'm sure, Howie, you feel the same way. I mean, I'm sure Stephen Colbert was a hero of yours. He certainly was comedically a hero of mine. He did, I think, one of the most brilliant comedic political shows ever. And when he did that at the Correspondents' Dinner, it was really good and funny. And now he's turned into that character he used to play. He's turned into this establishment maniac. And watch what he says about how we should treat, we shouldn't ask questions to Joe Biden.
Yesterday, President Biden held a press conference, and he was asked a ridiculous question by a ridiculous man, Fox News reporter, and that one kid in high school who wears a suit to gym class, Peter Doocy. Jimmy, drop the deuce.
When you said a chemical weapon use by Russia would trigger a response in kind.
It will trigger a significant response.
What does that mean?
I'm not going to tell you. Why would I tell you? You got to be silly.
Remember, yes. Remember how on last night's show I said that slapping is never, ever the answer? I'd like to file a one-time exemption on behalf of the President of the United States. And
now they're trying to pretend like that's a crazy question. That's not a crazy question. First of all, that was a gaffe when Joe Biden said it to begin with. When he said that if they used chemical weapons, we'll respond in kind. You mean you're going to also use chemical weapons? That's why you would ask that question. You mean you're also going to commit a war crime? Is that what you're saying? Because that can't be what you're saying, but that is what you said. So please clarify. And that's a super legitimate question. And again, Stephen Colbert is not angry at any of the questions that keep prodding the administration to escalate tensions in Ukraine with Russia on nuclear power. He's not upset at any of those questions. He's upset about a legitimate question because he doesn't like the guy. That's why. And now Stephen Colbert is now trashing reporters for doing actual reporting while defending the powerful. That's what that is. And he goes on. Let's watch.
No, it's wrong, Lewis.
Let him know.
It's wrong. Doocy did not stop there.
The world wants to know?
The world wants to know a lot of things. I'm not telling them what the response would be. Then Russia knows the response.
Mr. President.
All right, I'm going to take two more questions.
Peter Doocy, Fox News. I've got two more questions. First, what are the exact locations of all of America's troops? And can you give me the nuclear launch codes?
So let me bring in Howard Skora, playwright, comedian, hilarious person. What do you make of that when you see him mocking a reporter for doing what reporters are supposed to do instead of making fun of Joe Biden for saying crazy shit like we're going to use chemical weapons?
Well, I mean, I was not a fan of Trump, but wasn't Trump criticized for being kind of sketchy about not revealing his military strategy? And I remember everybody on the left, including me, was like, what the hell is that? I mean, it was such a weird disruption that Trump did. And the second I heard that, I'm like, this sounds exactly like out of the Trump playbook. Like Trump said pretty much the exact same line. But now the reaction is completely different when reporters, granted, Steve Doocy, not a fan, but
not a fan,
just basically doing his job.
Yeah, not a fan. I'm not a fan of any of these people. I'm not a fan of anybody at CNN or MSNBC. I'm not a. I'm on the only. when Tucker tells the truth about Ukraine and Syria, he's outdoing the rest of them. And they should be embarrassed. They're not. They go along with propaganda. And this is just disgusting. And so here's what Glenn Greenwald said. He said, if some conservative comedian went on a network news show or Fox and said any journalist asking tough questions of President Trump should be slapped for their insolence, it'd be a major crisis, with denunciations flowing from journalists and press freedom groups, etc. No doubt about it. But this is the total double standard. This is, well, it continues the double standard. So when Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton in the election, fair and square, they then said the election was illegitimate and it was a coup that was committed by a foreign country. And they said that for 4 straight years. When Joe Biden beat Donald Trump in the election, Donald Trump and his followers said it was an illegitimate election and they didn't want to accept it. Just like the Democrats had did. So they're both two sides of the same coin. And this idea that only right-wingers or Trumpers deny the results of an election just erases the last 4 years of history.
Yeah, I mean, the cognitive dissonance for me really started because when I first started watching you when I was still an MSNBC head, I would get all uncomfortable when you started making fun of Hillary. Like, that's how deep in the rabbit hole I was.
Wow.
And then I started thinking more clearly about the Clintons. And then when they started red baiting Tulsi, that's when I was like, wait a second. Like, it snapped me out of, wow, the left completely does it too. And they completely change the narrative when they need to. And when they red baited Bernie as well.
Well, when Bernie red baited himself.
Yeah.
Bernie starts pushing Russiagate. Bro, do you know they're going to use that against you? And of course, they used it against him right before, I think it was the Nevada primary.
And that's where the gaslighting was genius on their part, because it was originally Hillary that started the whole Russia thing anyway as a distraction.
Of course, 100%.
Yeah.
That was to distract from the failure of the oligarchy, that they would lose to a game show host and a political novice, that the people were so done voting for them that they would lose to a guy like Donald Trump. And so they couldn't just actually assess what they were doing wrong and fix it, because that's not what they're going to do. They're not going to actually start legislating for the people. They're not going to give you a living wage and health care and education and end those wars and invest the money back here. They're not doing any of that because they're owned by oligarchs and that want them to do the opposite. So they are. So what they did, they said that Russia is the cause of all our problems, and they're still doing it today, Howie. Right now, they're saying if you have high gas prices and if you have a food shortage or if there's a tough time in your life because of inflation, blame Putin and Russia, which, of course, the people to blame are Western imperialists like Joe Biden, right? So any words on how disappointed you are by Stephen Colbert? I'm going to show it again.
Yesterday, President Biden held a press conference, and he was asked a ridiculous question by a ridiculous man, Fox News reporter, and that one kid in high school who wears a suit to gym class, Peter Ducey. Jimmy, drop the deuce.
When you said a chemical weapon use by Russia would trigger a response in kind.
It will trigger a significant response.
What does that mean?
I'm not going to tell you. Why would I tell you? You got to be silly.
Remember, yes. Remember how on last night's show I said that slapping is never, ever the answer? I'd like to file a one-time exemption on behalf of the President of the United States. And
so it's weird that these shows just become partisan clusterfucks. That's all this is. This is a rally. It's not comedy. That's a partisan rally. That's what Stephen Colbert is doing, a partisan rally. I don't watch the other shows, but I'm pretty sure they're all exactly the same. They're all Trump-hating, Democrat-voting partisans.
Well, comedy's supposed to be challenging the powerful.
That's right.
And the whole point of reporters, and is to challenge the power and the elite. And instead, it's a self-perpetuating system where late night hosts kind of reaffirm the consent, right? The manufacturing of consent. This is manufacturing of consent right here.
There it is. That's a great way to put it. I should use that term more often because we're always talking about it. So what Stephen Colbert is doing is manufacturing consent for the establishment. And the establishment who? The liberal Democratic Party establishment. That's who this.
It's a propaganda machine, right? It goes from one machine to the next machine, and it's self-affirming. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, so to speak, which is you have what the belief is, you have your television shows affirming those beliefs, and then when you're at the water cooler, you just repeat back what Stephen Colbert said, or who. I don't watch any of these late night shows anymore because I just find them, they don't challenge power. They are the power.
They're the mouthpiece for power. Hey, when Les Moonves got kicked out of CBS for all the horrible shit that got revealed that he did on a daily basis, it wasn't like a one-time thing, where Les Moonves did something bad. He had a legacy of really abusing people, and so much so that they had to get rid of the most powerful guy at the network. That's how bad it was. And Stephen Colbert didn't have a critical thing to say. He goes, "Hey, Les Moonves is my guy. He's my guy."
Well,
that's what he said.
It's no different than what happened with Will Smith when they all gave him a standing ovation after he slapped a guy. That is Hollywood.
That's Hollywood.
That's Les Moonves. That's Weinstein. They all just sit and applaud, and they all knew it wasn't a secret what Weinstein was doing. Everybody knew. I apologize if I'm pronouncing his name wrong. I apologize to him if he's in prison somewhere. But I'm just saying, it's not. That was such an iconic thing. What happened, where they basically gave a standing ovation to a man who slapped a stand-up comic.
Yeah, which is like that was giving the finger to Chris Rock also.
Who was the more composed?
He was the guy. He was the guy actually being respectful.
He was exemplary.
And grown up. He was honoring the moment. He was honoring the people they were supposed to be honoring, and he wasn't trying to steal focus. And
he kept his composure. He took that slap. He didn't even look shocked. That
was amazing how he took that. He was able to deliver jokes after that.
He messed up the documentary line because that showed he was a little bit thrown,
right?
But he recovered quickly. It was admirable.
He should get more
props for that.
I can guarantee you, I would not have handled it that well.
Me either.
No, I would have fell down and started crying, and I would say I need an ambulance and please call my lawyer.
I would have been angrier for sure. I would have been like. Yeah, it was I think he's not getting enough credit for how and then he apologized. He was like the Cheney guy who got shot in the face. He apologized to Will Smith. I'm so sorry, I'm sorry you shot me in the face. Thank you. It was that same guy.
Did Chris Rock actually apologize?
Yeah, he did. You can Google that. Hold on, I want to make 100. I could have sworn.
I didn't see that, but I wouldn't doubt it.
He apologized. Because I don't think he was aware of the alopecia.
Oh, that would make sense that he would apologize then once he found out about that. Yeah. Because I know he said he didn't know about it. But anyways.
It was such a mild joke. It was the mildest.
Mildest of joke.
It was G.I. Jane is badass.
Yeah.
Demi Moore looked amazing.
She looked amazing in it. So it's kind of a jokey compliment instead of a jokey insult.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? He didn't say she looked like Shrek.
No.
It was an up comedic.
Yeah, he didn't say, "Oh, you look like Uncle Fester." He didn't say that. That would have been at least insulting. That's an insult.
That would almost make the punch not forgivable, but more understandable.
Still a heartbreaker to see Stephen Colbert do this on a nightly basis.
Oh yeah, that's all of those late night hosts. It's like. At least there was something about Carson and Letterman. There was still an irreverence.
Yes,
there was a. I can't watch 5 minutes. Quite frankly, Jimmy, I just get cringy. It's so cringy.
All these late night shows are such a cringe fest. When I came up in comedy, it was your dream to get on these shows.
Exactly.
If you got on those shows, you were a made man in comedy. You were a real deal, and you would have a full calendar, right, of work. Go ahead.
All you want to do was for Johnny to call you over to the.
That was it.
Desk,
that was it.
Right, and now it's like, ew, who the hell wants to go to that desk?
Not me. Couldn't care less.